Excellencies, distinguished delegates, honored hosts, Assalamu alaikum. It is wonderful to join you in Kathmandu for this historic first edition of Sagarmartha Sambad. I convey the sincere appreciation and the greetings of His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the United Arab Emirates. We extend our deepest thanks to the government of Nepal, to Your Excellency, and to the people of Nepal for convening this vital dialogue at the roof of the world. The name Sagarmartha, which is the Nepali name for Mount Everest, reminds us of what is truly elevated in this world, not just peaks, but principles. Resilience, harmony with nature, intergenerational duty, and the pursuit of common good. Today, as we gather under the shadow of the Himalayas, we are reminded that what happens to glaciers do not stay in the mountains. Mountains are not only a vital source of water, biodiversity, and culture, they are also powerful indicators of our planet's health. What happens on the peaks today will shape the fate of the valleys and coastlines tomorrow. As glaciers melt, they feed rising seas. As slopes become unstable, landslides follow. Disrupted weather patterns bring droughts, floods, and food insecurity to communities near and far. In every sense, the fate of our mountains is intertwined with the future of humanity. Excellencies, although the UAE is not predominantly a mountainous country by geography, we are defined by a deep respect for nature. Climate change anywhere in the world carries consequences for all economies, and the UAE as a global hub for trade and innovation and resilience is no exception. Our mountain range straddling the Eastern Arabian Peninsula plays a vital role in sustaining biodiversity, preserving cultural heritage, and securing water resources in one of the most arid regions on Earth. This gives us a profound understanding of the risks faced by mountain communities and the shared purpose in amplifying their voices in global climate governance. It was from this same conviction to ensure no vulnerable community is left unheard or unsupported that the UAE helped drive a historic breakthrough at COP28 in Dubai, the operationalization of the Fund for Responding Loss and Damage. The UAE is proud to have been one of the first and largest contributors with $100 million to jumpstart the fund's life-saving work in supporting the most vulnerable. We made this commitment not out of symbolism, but out of solidarity. We believe no community, mountain, island, or lowland should face climate devastation alone or unaided. We recognize that mountain ecosystems are underfinanced and undervalued, despite their critical role in sustaining water security, biodiversity, and cultural heritage. The UAE is actively connecting private capital to high-impact adaptation, resilience, and nature-based solutions across fragile geographies. At the heart of these efforts lies the UAE Framework for Global Climate Resilience, a unifying approach launched to strengthen climate resilience worldwide and safeguard the most vulnerable. This framework reflects the UAE commitment to ensuring that no ecosystem or community is left behind as we transition towards a climate-secure future. We welcome mountain nations to work with us and regional finance institutions to develop the required financing tools that can respond to this important matter. As the host country of the 2026 United Nations Water Conference, co-chaired with Senegal, the UAE invites all nations represented here to help shape a global water agenda that includes glaciers, groundwater, and cross-ecosystem coordination. The water that flows from your peaks sustains our valleys. The fate of snow melt is the fate of food security, energy system, and human health. This conference will be a platform to unique mountain, coastal, and desert nations behind the shared blueprint for water resilience. The UAE calls for a new South-South partnership for mountain and arid regions, bringing together states across Asia, Africa, and Latin America who shared the burdens of climate-induced water stress, biodiversity loss, and extreme weather. We believe that the highest summits are not those we stand upon, but those we rise towards together. The UAE stands ready to partner with all states represented here. Let Sagarmartha Sambad mark not just a moment of reflection, but a turning point for action, where the mountains inspire momentum and where climate justice is scaled from the peaks to the people. We have the tools, we have the science, and we have the collective ingenuity to change course. And remember, when we safeguard the mountains, we safeguard our shared homes. Thank you, Shukriya, Dhanyabad.
Thank you, Excellency, for your statement. May I now invite His Excellency, Mr. Amandeep Garg, Assistant Minister, Government of India, for his statement, followed by the State of Qatar after this.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and a very good afternoon to all of you. Sagarmartha Sambad, situated in the lap of the majestic Himalayas, offers an unparalleled opportunity to strengthen our shared regional and global resolve towards mountain sustainability and climate resilience. The theme of our discussion today resonates deeply with India. The Himalayas, our formidable sentinels and source of life-giving rivers, face unprecedented challenges. The future of these mountains is inextricably linked with the future of humanity, not just in our region, but globally. What happens in these ecosystems impacts biodiversity, agricultural systems, and the livelihoods of millions downstream. It is fitting that this conference will have a number of parallel scientific sessions covering a wide range of specific themes that will be discussed by a number of experts and other stakeholders over the next few days. While looking forward to these deliberations, I would like to note some common guiding principles that emerge from our perspective. In the light of global experience of more than 3 decades of UNFCCC, our great achievement in the convention was the articulation of principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. In the Paris Agreement, we added the principle of climate justice. Since then, it has been a long effort to implement and operationalize these principles. The developed countries' emissions have led to disproportionate share of global carbon budget being appropriated by a very few, while the majority of developing countries still have a long way to go in meeting their basic needs and priorities, let alone their aspirations for well-being. This is why the UNFCCC commitment that developed countries would take the lead is extremely important. Climate finance is among the most important commitment made by the developed countries under the UNFCCC and its Paris Agreement. Climate finance for adaptation and even more for mitigation has to be publicly sourced, predictable, and accessible based on the needs articulated by the developing countries. Further, increased ambition is necessary, but it has to be based on equity and CBDR and RC, without which it does not carry much meaning. Excellencies, dear friends, despite these formidable challenges, India, under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, has embarked decisively on addressing climate change. Our commitment is not merely rhetorical, but backed by concrete action and achievements. In particular, among many initiatives, recognizing the unique vulnerabilities of Himalayan region, India launched National Mission for Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystem under our National Action Plan on Climate Change. India has championed initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, providing clean cooking fuel to 103 million rural households, thereby reducing indoor air pollution and pressure on forest resources in the mountain regions. The Soil Health Card Scheme, which provides vital information to the farmers on the nutrient status of the soil, supports 10 million farmers to improve the soil health and fertility. In the end, I would like to say that the future of humanity depends on how we collectively address the climate change and safeguard our mountains. This requires a paradigm shift towards green development, sustainable consumption, and climate justice. Let us work together with a sense of urgency and shared responsibility to ensure that these magnificent peaks continue to inspire awe and sustain life for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your statement. I would now like to invite His Excellency Badr Omar El Dafa, Special Envoy for Climate Change, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, State of Qatar, for the statement, followed by Kyrgyz Republic. Excellency, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum. Excellency, the Foreign Minister, Excellencies, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First, I would like to extend my thanks to the esteemed Foreign Minister of Nepal for this gracious invitation to this important conference on climate change, mountains, and the future of humanity. It is a privilege to be here in Nepal, a nation of breathtaking beauty and a profound ecological significance. Qatar, my country, despite its desert environment, recognizes the urgent global challenge of climate change and is actively contributing solutions. We have embarked on an ambitious path outlined in our National Climate Change Action Plan 2030, with a firm target of reducing greenhouse gas emission by 25%. By 2027, Qatar aims to expand its LNG production to 127 million tons annually to replace high-polluting fuels like oil and coal and use clean energy. Furthermore, we are making substantial investments in renewable energy sources and pioneering carbon capture and storage technologies to diversify the energy mix and mitigate our environment impact. Qatar has successfully designed two sustainable smart cities, Lusail City and Msheireb Downtown, which were designed to optimize sustainable urban planning through the application of world-class environmental standards. Qatar is highly committed to producing the most innovative and organic research projects, which is the way countries has invested in world-renowned environment institutions such as Qatar Science and Technology Park, Qatar Environment and Energy Research Institute. We also deeply praise Nepal's proactive and dedicated efforts in addressing the impact of climate change, particularly within your fragile mountain ecosystem. Your commitment to developing and implementing the National Adaptation Plan, focusing on vital sectors such as agriculture, water resources management, and disaster risk reduction, showcase a strong national resolve to protect your communities and natural heritage. Given its long ties with Nepal, Qatar stands ready to collaborate and share knowledge as well as collective strive for the sustainable future for all. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I wish best in this conference.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Excellency. Now I would like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Dinara Kemelova, Special Representative of the President of Kyrgyzstan, for implementation of 5 years of action for development of mountain regions of the Kyrgyz Republic for the statement, followed by Brazil.
Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Arzurana Deba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nepal, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Government of Nepal for hosting this meaningful Sagarmartha Sambad event and warm hospitality. I commend Nepal for its efforts in promoting the mountain and climate change agenda. This is the second time of my visit to Nepal. 1 year ago, Nepalese government organized expert dialogue on mountain, people, and climate change in Kathmandu. And last year, during COP29, President of Kyrgyzstan, Sadir Japarov, participated in high-level session addressing climate-induced loss and damage in mountainous regions hosted by Nepal President Ramchandra Paudel. At the same time, Kyrgyzstan, with Azerbaijan presidency of COP29 and Mongolia, organized a high-level dialogue mainstreaming the mountain agenda and climate change in the framework of UNFCCC, with participation of President of Nepal and other distinguished delegates. These events contributed to advancing mountain agenda because mountain communities are among the most vulnerable to the impact of climate change, facing melting glaciers, water insecurity, land degradation, and economic marginalization of mountain communities. Addressing these challenges requires solidarity, innovation, urgent and transformative action. In this regard, the Kyrgyz Republic initiated and implements the 5 years of action for the development of mountain regions for 2023 and 2027, endorsed by UN General Assembly resolution. This is not only a national priority, it is an international call for stronger cooperation, knowledge exchange, and investing to the resilience of mountain communities and ecosystems. Just last month, in April, we hosted the Global Mountain Dialogue for Sustainable Development in Bishkek, with participation of more than 50 countries and 29 international organizations. This conference marked a major milestone on the road to the Bishkek Plus 25 summit, scheduled for 2027, as the culminating event of the 5 years of action plan for the development of mountain regions. It is not only reinforced global solidarity around the challenge of sustainable mountain development, but also laid the groundwork for concrete international action. During the conference, the President of the Kyrgyz Republic proposed a set of ambitious initiatives to elevate the mountain agenda in the global level. These include, first, establishing a fund for mountain countries' development. We advocate for targeted financing for needs of mountain regions to implement programs on climate change adaptation and resilience with a focus on glaciers, forests, addressing mountain land degradation and biodiversity loss, increasing preparedness for natural disasters, and social economic support for mountain communities, especially women and children. Second, creating UN coordinated mechanism, UN Mountains. Third, launching an international platform on mountain youth, women, and climate. In this regard, we continue to advocate for the creation of the broad coalition of mountainous countries and sustaining global mountain dialogue. Alongside with a group of friends of of mountain countries in New York, the Mountain Partnership under the FAO in Rome, we have launched a mountain group in the framework of the UNFCCC, which counts today 9 state parties. We invite those countries which have not done so yet to join to this group. Today, as we look ahead of COP30, the Kyrgyz Republic, together with several mountain nations, is promoting a declaration on climate change, mountains and glaciers. We believe this declaration can become a shared voice for those whose lives and culture are shaped by highland ecosystems. We sincerely hope Nepal and other countries will join to this declaration. Dear friends, in order to continue our global mountain dialogue and mainstreaming mountain agenda and climate change, we invite you to participate in World Mountain Youth Festival in Kyrgyzstan in August this year, and Mountain International Conference next spring in New York in UN headquarters in 2026, which will be followed by second Global Mountain Summit in Kyrgyzstan in 2027. We hope that you will join and contribute in turning our shared concerns into collective solutions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Madam, for your statement. Now I would like to request His Excellency Mr. Carlos Alberto Michelson Den Hartog, Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Brazil, to deliver his statement, followed by Egypt.
Honorable Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me congratulate the government of Nepal on convening the first Sagarmartha Sambad Forum and wish it complete success. As all of you know, Brazil is now preparing for COP30, which will take place in November 2025 in the city of Belém, Pará State, located within the Brazilian Amazon region. On March 10th, the president-designate of COP30, Ambassador André Correia do Lago, released his first letter to the international community presenting the Brazilian vision of COP30. The letter establishes the path that will lead to the definition of priorities for the conference. A broad consultation process will enable the identification of deliverables that combine ambition and feasibility in a highly challenging geopolitical context. Brazilian presidency of COP30 is working to define expectations for the 4 dimensions of the conference: meeting of head of state and government, formal negotiations, action agenda, and public mobilization. It's a quite long letter already delivered by our embassies to all parties of the convention. And so I will just mention 4 of its key points. The first one is the need to protect and expand cooperation in a context of serious institutional fragility of the climate regime. The COP29 negotiations in Baku last year show strong signs of fraying and possible exhaustion of the multilateral negotiation process. Moreover, in November and December of 24, other UN negotiations on plastic, biodiversity, and desertification failed. COP29 achieved merely sufficient results, concluding the rules for the carbon market, the last pending negotiation for the complete regulation of the rule book of the Paris Agreement, and defining the new climate finance objective, the last remaining mandate of COP21 in Paris 2015. The second key point is the need to reverse the worrying trend of unilateralism and fragmentation of cooperation. Therefore, COP30 constitutes an opportunity to consolidate the legacy of multilateral negotiations, avoid institutional and international law setbacks, and ensure that multilateralism and international cooperation remains the cornerstone of the global response to climate change. Brazil believes that COP30 must mark the moment where we transition to the post-negotiation phase of the Convention, in which we refocus our efforts on action and implementation and on increasing the efficiency of the UNFCCC process to enhance ambition and concrete implementation of decisions. In that context, the COP30 presidency will organize some groups, the Circle of Presidencies, Circles of Indigenous Leadership, Global Ethical Stocktaking, Special Councils of Scientists and Economists, and a group of special envoys. The third key point, the importance of connecting the abstraction of negotiations with real life. As the global warming intensifies, climate changes increasingly impact the daily lives of people, governments, societies, and economies. A collective effort should reinforce precisely the centrality of climate action and put promises into practice. Accelerating the implementation of the Paris Agreement that depends on coordination and structural adjustment beyond the Convention of Climate Change. The Paris Agreement is working, but not fast enough. Accelerating and scaling results depends on the size of actions that go far beyond the Climate Convention, including levers for the broad and rapid dissemination of financial, technological, and capacity-building resources, as well as structural change in international governance and financial system, especially to increase fiscal space and reduce the cost of capital in developing countries. But Brazil hopes that the COP30 will leave a legacy of a granary of solutions in the areas of forest, mountains, energy, transportation, cities, agriculture, and livestock, as well as fair transition and reductions in inequalities in bioeconomy and digital technologies. We also hope that the COP30 will be a showcase and a platform for attracting international resources for government policies and investment plans. On the 8th May, the Ambassador Correia do Lago sent a second letter that focused especially on plans for global mobilization process. Well, if you let me, Minister, as a Brazil representative in this dialogue, I hope that the results of the Sagarmartha Sambad will provide Nepal with relevant ideas, elements, proposals to contribute substantively to the efforts and concrete results that we all expect from COP30. But for that, I would like to emphasize the importance of all the delegations attending COP30 coming with ample and flexible mandates to reach consensus on concrete actions and new ambitions, as we need them to cope with the climate change challenges we are facing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. That was very informative for all of us as well. Next, I would like to request Her Excellency Ms. Noha Hamdi Ahmed Al Jibali, Ambassador of Arab Republic of Egypt, for the statement. Madam, the floor is yours. Her statement will be followed by Oman.
Honorable Dr. Arzu Rana Duba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nepal, Honorable Mr. Ain Bahadur Shahi Takuri, Minister of Forest and Environment of Nepal, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and warm greetings. It is a great honor for me to be here today to address the first edition of the Sagarmartha Sambad, a timely and visionary initiative by the government of Nepal. Held in the shadow of the majestic Sagarmartha, Mount Everest, this dialogue not only represents symbolic significance, but also practical urgency. It reminds us all that our highest mountains are not distant peaks, but vital guardians of ecosystems, biodiversity, water security, and ultimately, human survival. Egypt commends Nepal for convening this multi-stakeholder dialogue at such a critical juncture in our collective climate journey. Despite being a country whose terrain is predominantly plain, Egypt recognized the ecological, societal, and climatic significance of the mountainous regions, both in our own territory and globally. Mountains play an outsized role in local climate regulation, groundwater recharge, and biodiversity preservation. These are all essential to the national strategy for climate adaptation, and their protection is integral to sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt had the honor of hosting COP27 back in 2022. COP27 was a historic milestone in the global climate process. It elevated the voice of the Global South and placed adaptation and climate justice at the heart of the agenda. Perhaps one of the most notable outcomes of COP27 was the establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund, a long-awaited mechanism aimed at supporting vulnerable countries suffering the devastating consequences of climate change. This was a collective triumph born from years of advocacy by developing nations, including mountain countries like Nepal, who face rising temperatures, glacial retreat, and water insecurity at an alarming pace. COP27 also resulted in the launch of the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda, a comprehensive initiative to accelerate resilience building across food systems, water resources, and infrastructures, areas critical to mountainous regions. Today, as we gather here in Kathmandu, Egypt reaffirms its full understanding of the environmental, social, and economic significance of mountains to Nepal, one of the countries most affected by climate change in high-altitude zones. We fully support Nepal's efforts to protect its unique mountain ecosystems and enhance the resilience of local communities, especially in light of all the climate challenges. Egypt strongly supports the integration of mountain issues into global adaptation frameworks, including the Paris Agreement and the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly Goal 13, Climate Action, and Goal 15, Life on Land. It is imperative that fragile mountain areas in developing countries receive targeted financial and technical support. Climate finance has to be made more accessible and equitable, and a larger share must be directed towards adaptation, especially where vulnerability is greatest. Ladies and gentlemen, the mountains, like the oceans and forests, are part of the interconnected systems that sustain life on Earth, but their voices have long been subdued in international fora. The Sagarmartha Sambad, I believe, will help change that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Now, thank you. I would like to invite His Excellency Issa bin Saleh Al Shibani, Ambassador of the Sultanate of Oman, to Nepal. And I would also like to recognize we have with us now Her Excellency Equina Ekiko, Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan, who has just arrived in Nepal. So we will be first, since I have already invited Oman first, I would like to request His Excellency, the Ambassador of Oman, and after that, Madam Equina Ekiko. Oh. The floor.
Excellency Foreign Minister, distinguished delegates, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation. I convey the greetings of our Foreign Minister, who unfortunately couldn't be here to participate in this very important forum. For us is where I haven't really prepared a speech, but I think we do support the initiative of Nepal in terms of the importance of protecting the environment and also the mountains in a way that will help to mitigate really the diverse effect that this has caused on the climate change. We have had a very active participation in COP27 and COP28, and I hope that will continue in support of these initiatives. We do have as well participants from Oman who have a mountaineer who have really climbed to the top of the Everest mountains, and where in some of our discussions we see that, I think where we don't touch on the importance of how these sports could really play a role in terms of bringing that much of awareness of how the issue of protecting mountains and climate change really play a great role in the initiative itself. I thank you again, Foreign Minister, for this opportunity and wish you all success for this summit. Thank you.
Excellency. And now I have the pleasure to invite Her Excellency Ikwina Akiko, Parliamentary Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, for her statement. Thank you.
The Right Honorable Mr. Kadoga Prasad Sharma Ori, Prime Minister of Nepal, Honorable Dr. Arzulana Deuba, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Chair of the plenary session, Honorable Mr. Ain Bahadur Shah Thakri, Minister for Forests and Environment of Nepal, and distinguished representatives from around the world, Namaskar. On behalf of the government of Japan, I would like to express my congratulations on holding the first Sagarmartha Sambad. I would also like to express my gratitude to the government of Nepal for the invitation. We commend the Nepalese government initiative in establishing the Sagarmartha Sambad as a forum for dialogue among multiple stakeholders, and believe it will be extremely useful in considering an action plan to address climate change. Climate change is a security issue that affects the very existence of humankind. Extreme weather events due to climate change significantly impact Japan's national security in various ways. This passage is included in Japan's National Security Strategy, which was adopted in 2022. This recognition is shared by many other countries. If we fail to address this issue, we may not be able to leave a world for our future generations. Given the urgency of the climate crisis, it is essential to bring together the wisdom and efforts of the international community to work together to solve it. Last week, I visited the Republic of Marshall Islands, RMI, an enchanting country with beautiful beach and people. The RMI is an atoll country with an average elevation of only 2 meters. I found at first hand that issues of climate change and sea level rise are threatening the very existence of the country. The international community today is facing changes that will define the era. Amid shifting power balances and intensifying geopolitical competition, divisions within the international community are becoming even more serious. At the same time, global issues such as climate change are becoming increasingly grave. Many countries are facing economic slowdown and widening economic disparities. The question now is how to overcome these compound crises. Japan is committed to working with all stakeholders to overcome these challenges. Japan is taking the lead in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We have set ambitious target of reducing emissions by 60% by 2035 and 73% by 2040 compared to 2013 levels, with the aim of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. We will steadily implement measures toward achieving these targets. At the same time, it is also important to support developing countries in their mitigation efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and their adaptation efforts to avoid and reduce the damage caused by climate change. Japan will provide support that leverage its strengths while responding in a tailored manner to the challenges faced by developing countries. Distinguished guests, today I would like to highlight 3 points regarding Japan's approach to providing such support. First, we will address development issues based on human security, which will also provide co-benefit assistance that will contribute to climate change measures. Climate change measures tend to be put on the back burner because their effects are not clear in the short term. Japan is providing support in areas such as electricity and energy, urban development, and forest conservation. We provide such support to resolve development issues while achieving decarbonization and building societies that are resilient to the negative impacts of climate change. Second, we will utilize our technologies and knowledge and promote innovation. Japan has a long-standing advantage in responding to natural disasters, such as floods and in disaster risk reduction. We have proactively contributed to promoting disaster risk reduction measures internationally, including initiating the adoption of the Sendai Framework for disaster risk reduction, which serves as a major international guideline. At the same time, this is an ongoing challenge that Japan is also working on through trial and error, and it is important to promote intellectual collaboration among private, public, and academic institutions. It is also crucial to embrace a perspective of co-creating solutions with other countries. Japan, as equal partners, will aim to co-create solutions tailored to various circumstances of each country. Third, we will collaborate with various stakeholders. Climate action is a challenge that must be addressed across borders. We will promote collaboration with diverse partners within the region. Climate action requires significant funding. Thus, we will promote the use of external finance, such as the Green Climate Fund, and collaborate with the private sector. Distinguished guests, here in Nepal, natural disasters such as floods and landslides are also frequent. Protecting the rich forests that are the source of livelihood and income for the people of Nepal from flood damage remains an urgent task. Through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, Japan has engaged in forest conservation in Nepal since the 1990s. Japanese experts have been working with local communities. We are promoting forest conservation in cooperation with residents through dialogue, including women who have become guardians of the forest nowadays. Last year, we also began efforts to strengthen flood control measures in the flood-prone districts of Sunsari and Moran. Let us join forces to overcome this compound crisis, to live a prosperous world for future generations. Japan will continue to contribute to global decarbonization by providing tailored support to countries facing challenges. This will be done by using Japan's experience and technology and the promotion of private investment. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, and thank you for coming all the way and coming right here and being so fresh and to the point. Thank you. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Abrar H. Hashmi, Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to Nepal, for his statement. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair, Dr. Arzu Deobarana, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, and a very good afternoon. On behalf of the Government of Pakistan, I extend our sincere gratitude to the government and people of Nepal for convening the inaugural Sagarmartha Sambad. This timely dialogue underscores the nexus between climate change, mountains, and the future of humanity. Today, as we gather here in historic Kathmandu, glaciers are melting at an alarming pace. Their retreat threatens not just biodiversity and mountain communities, but the food, water, and energy security of millions downstream. Pakistan is home to towering ranges. Much like Nepal, we share 13 out of 14 highest peaks, from Himalayas to Karakoram and Hindu Kush, encompassing over 7,000 glaciers, the largest concentration outside polar region, and they are vital for us. We have witnessed firsthand the perils of glacier melt and gulfs due to climate change, despite contributing less than 1% to global greenhouse gas emissions. The 2022 floods was a stark reminder, displacing 33 million population, caused over $35 billion in losses, destroying critical infrastructure. The stark imbalance reinforces the urgency of equitable climate action and centrality of climate finance. Excellencies, according to IPCC assessment, surpassing the 1.5 Celsius warming threshold could result in the loss of over 1/3 of the world's remaining glaciers, with their devastating consequences for ecosystems, freshwater supplies, and sea level rise. The UNFCCC's Standing Committee on Finance estimates that developing countries will require over $6 trillion by 2030 to implement their NDCs. Therefore, there is an urgent need for enhanced global climate action and international cooperation to mitigate the negative impacts of climate change based on established principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. The developed countries need to meet their climate finance commitments with balanced focus on adaptation and mitigation, as well as loss and damage. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on its part, Pakistan has launched a wide range of institutional, financial, and policy reforms to to catalyze a climate-resilient development pathway. These include establishment of Pakistan Climate Change Authority to steer long-term coordinated climate governance, ecosystem restoration, and to integrate adaptation measures across vulnerable sectors. Our national climate finance strategy is guiding climate investments in public-private collaboration. National glacier strategy is to address glacial melt and water stress. Under the Paris Agreement, Pakistan has pledged that by 2030, 30% of all new vehicles sold in Pakistan in various categories will be electric vehicles. We have set an ambitious target to generate 60% of our energy from clean and renewable energy sources by 2030. Living Indus Initiative is designed as a world restoration flagship by UNEP to restore large-scale ecosystem to bolster climate resilience. The government is strengthening early warning systems and enhancing disaster preparedness and response mechanism to enhance cities' capacities to cope with climate change impacts and natural disasters. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, finally, we must all work together to share our knowledge, expertise, and resources to achieve humanity's common goals. Together, we can create a better and resilient future. I thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for your statement. This concludes the list of statements by country delegations. Now it will be followed by statements from representatives of international and regional organizations. In this, I would like to invite His Excellency Martin Reiser, World Bank Regional Vice President for South Asia, to deliver his statement, followed by the Asian Development Bank. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Arzu Deuba. Honored guests, friends, and colleagues, last week, Nepal did something extraordinary. It held a funeral for a glacier. The Yala Glacier, high in the Langtang Valley, once stood proud, vast, beautiful, and seemingly eternal. It gave life to the communities below for generations, but today it has lost 2/3 of its mass and retreated nearly 800 meters since 1974. And if current warming continues, scientists warn it may disappear completely by the year 2040. The ceremony to honor Yala's passing was not just symbolic. It was a wake-up call. Because Yala's story is not unique, it's the story of the Himalayas. Glaciers across this sacred range are melting at record pace, and this is not a distant problem. It is already affecting the communities below that rely on the rivers that nourish nearly 2 billion people. And it's not just the rising temperatures. Pollutants like black carbon settle on the ice, accelerating the melt. Nepal, a country that has contributed so little to this crisis, finds itself on the frontiers of its impact. Droughts are more frequent, glacial lake outbursts, floods are more dangerous, and hard-won development gains are under growing threat. Yet, even in this sobering reality, we see powerful signs of resilience. Across South Asia, people are already adapting to climate change. In an upcoming report, we find that 4 out of 5 households are taking steps to cope with climate stress. And in places with early warning systems, 90% of families act in advance. These are not stories of helplessness. These are stories of action and strength. We also see what works. Nepal's community forestry movement, locally led, nationally scaled, is a model for the world. Rural roads, hanging bridges are connecting people to markets, schools, and care. Indeed, it turns out that some of these basic development investments are at the core of effective adaptation strategies. But these efforts must grow. South Asia remains the most climate-vulnerable region among emerging economies, and while households and firms are trying, too many face barriers, limited credit, asymmetric information, and inflexible labor markets. The private sector has a vital role to play. Our analysis finds that autonomous adaptation, the actions that households and firms take in the face of climate change, could offset up to 1/3 of the impacts from rising temperatures. But governments must help to clear the way by improving access to weather data, promoting market-based solutions such as insurance, and investing in resilient technologies, basic infrastructure, and adaptive social protection. Because when people are informed and empowered and connected, they adapt and they lead. But let me be clear, this is not just about funding. International solidarity is vital. But in the face of declining aid budgets, it's about rethinking development, with climate shaping how we build, grow, and empower. That means stronger infrastructure, broader financial inclusion, and more jobs in resilient sectors like tourism, services, and the green economy. Our new country partnership framework for Nepal, which we expect to present to our board within this month, has these insights at its core. It focuses on only 2 key priorities: jobs and resilience. Jobs for people that are affected by climate change and need new opportunities, and resilience to make sure they have those opportunities and are better protected. Nepal has already written one of South Asia's most inspiring stories of poverty reduction. Let the next chapter be one of resilience, led by its people, supported by strong partnerships, and admired around the world. We stand ready to support Nepal and the rest of the South Asia region on this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for your statement. And next on my list is Her Excellency Ms. Fatima Yasmin, Asian Development Bank Vice President for the sector. Her statement will be followed by SARC.
Honorable Foreign Minister of Nepal, Ms. Arjurana Deva, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon to you all. It is my privilege to speak at this inaugural session of Sagarmartha Sambad. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the government of Nepal for hosting this event on climate change, mountains, and future of humanity. The majestic ranges of Hindu Kush Himalayas, Pamir, and Tian Shan have long shaped the culture, spiritual, and ecological identity of Asia. For the people of this region and beyond, mountains are not just an awe-inspiring landscapes. They are also sacred places, vital ecosystem, and essential sources of livelihoods. Yes, these mountains are now at the front line of the climate change crisis. Glacier retreat, water scarcity, floods, and landslides are becoming increasingly frequent and severe, threatening both natural ecosystems and rural communities. Hard-earned development gains achieved over decades by the people, communities, and countries are at constant risk of being wiped out in a single event. The 2024 glacial lake outburst flood in Sikkim was a stark warning of our rapidly changing climate. Unfortunately, it is not an isolated incident. What happened in the highlands inevitably cascades down to the lowlands, farther downstream in the deltas, such as the one where I come from. Sea level rise, floods, and typhoons present parallel risks. This is a shared crisis that demands coordinated actions requiring regional cooperation and long-term resilience planning. ADB's midterm review of Strategy 2030 identified 5 focus areas that will guide our work moving forward. Climate action is one of them, along with others. As of December 2024, ADB's cumulative climate finance commitment stood at $41.9 billion against our target of $100 billion by 2030. This significant investment reflects ADB's deepening commitment to addressing multi-hazard risk in our region. Let me quickly share a relevant example from Nepal. ADB's Building Adaptation and Resilience in the Hindu Kush Himalayas Technical Assistance Project aims to enhance the understanding of multi-hazard risks and strengthen regional cooperation and climate resilience across the fragile mountain ecosystem of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. It supports countries in developing adaptive strategies to address growing climate and disaster risks to critical infrastructure and enhancing transboundary collaboration. Climate change does not recognize borders, and neither should our commitments and actions. The future of Asia depends on a useful response grounded in science, unified policies, equity, and innovation. ADB stands ready to support transformative action through regional cooperation, green technologies, and resilient infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, and thank you, ADB, for making this whole event a success. I would now like to request His Excellency Mohammad Ghulam Sarwar, Secretary General of SAARC, to deliver his statement, followed by BIMSTEC.
Honorable Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba, Foreign Minister of Nepal, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, namaste and assalamu alaikum from the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC. It is a great honor for me to join you at this important forum, Sagarmartha Sambad, aptly named after the world's highest peak, the majestic Mount Everest, Sagarmartha, which is not just our shared heritage, but also a symbol of endurance and resilience of Mother Nature. I commend the government of Nepal for convening this important multi-stakeholder dialogue on this critical theme, the climate change, mountains, and the future of humanity. The ecological lifeline today stands at a crossroad. Adverse impact of climate change is clearly visible in our mountains, and our mountains are sounding an unmistakable call for urgent and unified actions. Climate change has turned the Himalayas into both frontline and at the fault line. The Himalayas, which span across multiple SAARC countries, are warming twice the global average. Glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate. Seasonal patterns are becoming unpredictable. Communities are facing increasing risk of floods, landslide, glacial lake outburst floods, water insecurity, rising food insecurity, and forced migration. For mountain dwellers and the downstream populations alike, these changes are not abstract projections, they are the urgent realities. In South Asia, home to nearly a quarter of the humanity, the stake could not be higher. This is not just an environmental crisis, it is a development crisis, a security concern, and a human tragedy in the making. As we confront this growing crisis, I firmly believe that the road to sustainability must be built both on regional cooperation and global solidarity. The shared nature of our geography and the interconnectedness of our climate demands shared responsibility and concerted action at various levels. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2010, The leaders from SAARC member countries adopted the Thimphu Statement on Climate Change at the 16th SAARC Summit. It was a landmark moment, the first time climate change took center stage at the highest level of our regional cooperation. The Thimphu Statement recognizes our mountains, rivers, and peoples are faced the shared threats, and it is committed us to share the response. It emphasizes the urgency of regional and international collaboration on climate change, mitigation, adaptation, and promote climate resilience. The importance of low-carbon technologies, renewable energy, as well as knowledge sharing, and the moral responsibility to act not only for ourselves, but for our future generation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let this Sagarmartha Sambad serve not only as a platform for dialogue, but as a call for action as we move forward on the path of climate resilience, regional solidarity, and sustainable development for our people. As the Secretary General of SAARC, I call upon all the member states and our partners around the world to prioritize, number one, strengthen the regional and global cooperation on climate science. Second, invest in the resilient communities. Third, protect and conserve the ecosystem that protect us. Fourth, amplify our collective voice on climate advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, mountains may divide us geographically, but they also unite us in common purpose. Their waters do not stop at borders, neither do landslides, floods, or shifting monsoons. The climate crisis is indifferent to lines of the map. Therefore, our responses must be unified, science-driven, and rooted in justice and through regional cooperation. We must recognize, we must reimagine the development through the lens of sustainability. We must ensure that global collaboration is no longer optional, it is an imperative. Our future is intertwined with the fate of our mountains. The time to act cohesively, courageously, and collectively is now. Let the summit of Sagarmatha remind us of the height we can achieve when we come together. I wish everyone here a productive and successful Sambad. Once again, I thank the government of Nepal for arranging such an important event in this beautiful city of Kathmandu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. May I now request His Excellency Mr. Indramani Pandey, Secretary General of BIMSTEC, to deliver a statement followed by IC mode. Excellency, you have the floor.
Manani Dr. Arju Rana Deuba, Honorable Foreign Minister of Nepal, Honorable Minister for Forest and Environment of Nepal, Excellencies, distinguished participants, Namaskar, a very good afternoon to you all. I am honored to represent BIMSTEC at the inaugural Sagarmartha Sambad. I congratulate and commend the government of Nepal for convening this Sambad. The speakers before me have already spoken about the threats and the challenges we face due to climate change. They have also called for concerted national, regional, and global action. A number of concrete proposals have been made. I will therefore focus on the initiatives taken by BIMSTEC to deal with climate change and related issues. As you are aware, BIMSTEC was founded in June 1997 and has been in existence for almost 28 years. It brings together 7 countries of region: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. It has on its agenda 17 sectors for cooperation, and the permanent secretariat of BIMSTEC is located in Dhaka, which anchors all its activities. BIMSTEC has its own charter and well-established decision-making mechanisms, and it operates on the principle of consensus. It enjoys the requisite political support of all its members, focuses on technical and economic cooperation, and stays away from divisive political issues. The recently concluded 6th BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok imparted a huge impetus to regional cooperation in Bay of Bengal. Apart from the adoption of summit declaration, our leaders also adopted a BIMSTEC Bangkok Vision 2030, the first vision of BIMSTEC of its kind. Environment and climate change has been a key priority for regional cooperation under BIMSTEC. During the 6th summit, leaders endorsed BIMSTEC Plan of Action for Environment and Climate Change, which focuses on 3 key areas: biodiversity, waste management, and climate change. Recognizing the vital need for regional cooperation to protect delicate ecosystem of mountains, mountain economy has also been identified as a sector for collaboration within BIMSTEC. An intergovernmental expert group on mountain economy has already finalized a plan of action on mountain economy, which outlines key priorities, including enhanced connectivity, clean energy promotion, ecosystem and environment protection, and development of green tourism and sustainable livelihoods. In order to deal with the challenges of global warming, the BIMSTEC member states have also prioritized transition to green energy. BIMSTEC has adopted a plan of action for energy cooperation and a memorandum of understanding for BIMSTEC grid interconnection. Several dedicated BIMSTEC centers further support our regional climate actions. The BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate provides critical weather forecasts and early warning services, and the BIMSTEC Energy Center is mandated to promote cooperation in renewable energy and energy efficiency. The BIMSTEC Expert Group on Disaster Management is currently engaged in finalizing a plan of action to improve preparedness and coordination for responding to natural disasters in the Bay of Bengal region. A Himalayan Science Council is being set up. Further, the BIMSTEC Secretariat is actively pursuing partnerships with the international and regional organizations which are engaged in global and regional climate action, with a view to leveraging their knowledge, resources, expertise, and programs for enhancing regional cooperation under BIMSTEC for climate action. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that BIMSTEC offers an inclusive and effective platform to promote regional cooperation in environment and climate change, green energy transition, disaster management, and other climate change-related challenges in Bay of Bengal region. BIMSTEC member states are committed to forging meaningful partnerships and advancing tangible action to ensure a sustainable and climate-resilient future for Bay of Bengal region. I thank you for your kind attention. Namaskar.
Thank you, Excellency. I would now like to request Mr. Pema Gabzo, Director General of ECMOD, to deliver his statement. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ECMOD is pleased to be associated with this event, the Sagarmartha Sambad, and would like to thank the Government of Nepal, our host, for giving us this privilege. Let me join all other previous speakers to convey our sincere appreciation to the people and Government of Nepal for hosting this flagship event. Honorable Chair, as the last speaker, I have the privilege of choosing what to speak and leaving out what I don't need to repeat. So I also hope that the alarm bell, the warning bell doesn't apply for me, as I am the last speaker. So we have heard all the major issues and what we need to do. So from my own perspective, from my own understanding of what has been said all along, I would like to summarize my statements under 3 sections. The first is a set of facts that everybody seems to talk about and all of us acknowledge. The first of this fact is that the world is facing the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and air pollution. Second, that these crises are reinforcing, mutually reinforcing, and also interconnected, and they affect everyone. Third fact, that the mountain regions are highly exposed to the impacts of climate change and facing existential threats. Fourth, what happens in the mountains matter and impacts the water, food, and energy security of millions of people living both within and beyond in the downstream river basins. Fifth and the last, that 1.5 degrees Celsius is just too hot for the mountains, and we need to take urgent actions now. So, what I have seen is that we know enough to act, at least by those of us living on this planet. And the science is clear. So what is stopping us from taking actions to save our planet and secure the future of life on Earth, including ourselves? In my opinion, there are 5 I's, 5 words that begin with I's that we do not give enough attention, and also 5 C's that we tend to avoid. In all our gatherings, we have heard conversations around these 5 I's. First is information. In our quest for more information, more evidence, more data, we conveniently do not make use of what we already have, and we do not share. While research should continue and efforts to enhance scientific knowledge should be increased, we need to make effective use of what we already know. Second is institutions. We have enough institutions around the world, nationally, regionally, globally. Third is instruments. We have so many legal, policy, and regulatory instruments to prevent and mitigate planetary crises, from bylaws at the local levels to international conventions and treaties. The fourth is innovations. Again, one of the common excuses we hear is that we do not have enough innovation, enough technology, enough knowledge. But I think we have to make use of all the innovations that already exist. We simply cannot wait for artificial intelligence to come up with the magic solution for our problems. Fifth and the last is investments. Again, if we check the books on our expenditures made on sustainable development, made on environment, made on climate mitigation and adaptation, we will be surprised. Enough investments have been made, but were they made in the right place, in the right time, in the right, in the places where it is most needed, and used effectively? I don't think so. Now, let me touch on the 5 C's. We lack communication. While we talk about communication all the time, I don't think we are talking in the same language. So there still exists this gap in communication. We need to improve on that. Second, coordination. How many of us in these rooms, regional, institutional, international institutions and organizations, can claim that we have enough coordination? I think we need to enhance our coordination at every level. Third is collaboration. Now, we have collaboration, but in the spirit of collaboration is much misunderstood and often constitute a convenient alliance or alliance of parties. Real collaboration in letter and spirit, that is what I wanted to say, is rare. And I think we need to improve on that. Final C is consistency. We need continuity and coherence. Sometimes we tend to take our interpretation of circular economy quite literally. We start something, halfway through we change and come back, and I think that should not happen. The last one is commitment. Commitment at every level, individual, institutional, national, and international levels. Commitments that can be actionable. So to conclude, let me once again reiterate that we know enough to take actions now, and what we can do today with $1 should not be kept in abeyance, as in the next 5 years or few years, it may cost us many folds more. The wisdom in the ancient proverb, a stitch in time saves 9, is perhaps more relevant now than ever. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at ICIMOD, we are committed to do whatever we can do to support and contribute to the efforts made by our regional member countries and our development partners. We know our limitations, but we also know that with what we know, we can make significant contributions. So our mission ahead is that we must work together to make sure that mountains do not remain as an afterthought in discourses like this. Thank you very much, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Pemaji, for your very wise words. He is indeed a practitioner of what we are talking about. And this brings to the conclusion our plenary session for today. I deeply thank all the distinguished speakers for the valuable insights, views and wisdoms expressed in their statements. The views and voices will really count a lot in shaping our way forward, our collective action. I think this has been resonated deeply in the session today, that we have knowledge, we know where we want to go. It is a matter of putting our will together and a commitment of sitting down together and really charting the way forward. And we hope this is going to be a place of departure where not only we speak but we really act upon what we are saying. So, and the contents of all this will be reflected in the report of the Sambad. I also would like to thank all the distinguished participants assembled in this chamber for patiently listening to all the speakers and to me. I hope the same level of interest and enthusiasm will remain as the Sambad proceeds through various thematic parallel sessions in the coming 3 days. I hope all of you have pursued have read carefully all the program that has been up on the website, because there are going to be many very interesting speakers and parallel sessions. So I hope this morning has been worth the while, especially for all our guests who have come from very far to be here with us today. And I would like to invite you all for the lunch after this, and for all the interesting sessions that we are going to have tomorrow. And I think there is going to be a mountain flight that some of you have also signed up to. And of course, I will see you in the in the closing plenary session also. Thank you, namaste, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Honorable Foreign Minister Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba. We now have a press brief by our Honorable Foreign Minister. I'd like to request all our distinguished participants, representatives from the media, to please head towards the Malshri Hall, where we'll have the press briefing by our Honorable Foreign Minister Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba. And she'll most definitely be joining lunch post the press briefing as well. To all our distinguished guests, Honorable Ministers, Head of Departments, we'd like to request you to kindly head towards the Chinese restaurant for lunch. And to all our foreign delegates, senior officials, panelists, we have lunch being served at the Terrace Garden Resort. And to all our other distinguished dignitaries, we have lunch being served